At the heart of every paddler beats a passion for water, competition, and conservation. This unique podcast aims to unite all the paddling styles and stories under one common heartbeat. This is the Paddler's Pulse.
All right, you guys, so I get a chance to hang out here with this amazing gentleman named Bret Warner, and he's going to tell us a little bit more about the eco side of paddling, which I'm pretty sure if you guys are listening to this podcast is something that you're into. I thought I had a good idea of what that actually meant until I met him. And he's going to tell us a little bit about his story of how he found the eco side of paddling and how he's kind of ingrained it into his life in a way that I think is super inspiring to a lot of people around him. So without further ado, I bring to you Mr. Bret Warner.
All right. Well, thanks for having me, by the way. I've been passionate about caring for the environment, I think, ever since I was, a little kid in that classroom learning about global warming or climate change or whatever they called it at that point. But when I first started getting into making boards that were more eco-friendly, more sustainable boards, I got into it because it was less expensive. Because I wanted a $3,000 carbon fiber board, and my wife said that she wasn't too cool with that at the moment. So I saw a wooden board at the Powerhouse Paddle in Del Mar.
Oh, neat.
One day.
Yeah.
And I went up to talk to them about it. They told me about how you could order this kit online from Chesapeake Lightcraft. And I went there, I did some reading, I read some books about it, realized I could probably make it for under $1,000, and thought, let's give it a shot.
Sweet.
It was not until the first time that I was, or not the first time I was paddling it, but after I paddled a few times and I started going on the online forums about wood board building to look at a second board, that I realized how I could make the super cool, eco-friendly wooden board on my next one.
Right.
So
let's talk about that for a second. So a lot of people listening are probably we're all very in the know and comfortable about all these really nice, colorful, carbon boards and standard boards that are out there. Why do you think most people don't hear more about this side of it? It was a curiosity for you because you saw a wood board and you thought, wow, that's interesting. But how come it's not so much more mainstream?
I think people are turned off by wood boards, not because they look beautiful, because they do look gorgeous when they're done right. They look amazing. But people automatically assume they're super heavy. I think a lot of people don't realize that they're hollow. I remember driving back from the lake one time by my house, stopped to get gas, and one guy came up to admire it and said, "Oh God, how do you get that to the water? It must be so heavy." And when I told him it was 32 pounds, this was the first board I made.
Right.
He was amazed.
Yeah.
He just was blown away that it was hollow inside. Oh, what kind of wood is it? All these great questions. We sat and chatted about it for 15 minutes.
Wow.
And I think people see it and they just automatically think it's got to be slower than that $3,000 carbon fiber board that's out there without really giving it a chance. If you add that to the fact that it takes a long time to build a wood board, a lot of hands-on time. I mean, if I'm during the week, I'm a teacher.
Okay.
10 minutes to a half an hour every night, maybe a few hours on the weekend. Sometimes that's still going to take me about 6 months to finish that board.
Okay. It took about that long.
And so if you add to that the first couple of times, you're probably going to make a big mistake and have to go backwards a little bit.
Right.
Most mistakes are fixable.
Okay.
I learned that. The first board I ever made, I made 2 left sides. And I sat down to stitch it together because I made all the panels separately.
Sure.
And I remember I was so excited because I was going to stitch it to the bulkheads that I had made. And I looked at it. My whole body just kind of slumped down in the chair in depression. I was like, oh my God.
I just made 2. Well, at least you're halfway to another board.
This is true. No, I ruined the side trying to fix it.
Oh, got it. Okay.
So I just went in. I didn't even clean up after myself until the end of the day. I was so sad.
I've had those moments myself.
It was, it was totally fixable. I went back. I got another sheet of plywood, which was more than I needed. I made a right side. And 2 boards later, I used that plywood anyway.
Okay, cool. Good.
So it was fine.
Okay, so tell me a little bit more about kind of, I'm going to call it your hippie heart and how you got to a spot. No, seriously, because I'm the same way. And how you got to a spot where you really realized that this was a theme for your life to be a little bit more eco. Because I think it's something that's not talked about as often in paddling circles because, I don't know why, but we all spend time on the water. There's some great reasons to be more of a steward to the world.
So outside of paddling.
It didn't start with paddling, right?
Okay,
yeah.
No, it didn't. As I said, and I'm glad I did, but I took everything, that we learned about in elementary school science, hook, line, and sinker. I learned it. I was passionate about it. And I think that was because as a kid, especially because my grandfather, who was super into Native American art, kind of fostered this love for an interest in Native Americans when I was little. And so this idea of being connected to the world and being connected to the earth was, I don't want to say ingrained because I'm so happy it was there, like ingrained in a good way.
Sure.
In me, that it started way back then. Maybe it went to college when I learned that I could eat less meat and make a more positive environmental impact.
Right.
Or even when I was older and in my 20s, I was like, oh my God, I have enough money to put solar panels on my house.
Sweet.
These little things all along. And that all happened, eating better for the environment, driving less, carpooling, solar panels, everything I mentioned, that all happened before I ever built a board.
Wow. Okay. So you were leaning this direction, almost as if when you found out that the option was there, you're like, this is like my jam.
And I think that's why I was so stoked about it too.
Got it. Yeah.
And what happened though is I realized, oh man, I've had a lot of plastic kayaks. And it had never really occurred to me, especially because I wasn't throwing them away. I was always selling them when I was done. It wasn't
so
like
it's like a recycle of,
But at the same time, it never occurred to me that every boat that I bought new was a new plastic boat somewhere out there in production.
Entry to the world, yeah.
And so when I realized that I wanted to do my own little part to stop that, that was kind of where all that met.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
As well.
Yeah.
So
you first got into so kayak, you first learned about wood kayaks, right? Or something to that extent? Did you ever know that was possible?
Yeah, I had heard about it, back when I was teaching sea kayaking.
Oh, okay.
And it was kind of mentioned. There was another instructor that always said, I want to build a kit one day. But I never went online to look at it.
Actually know what it was, yeah.
I had never done any sort of woodshop class.
Got it.
As far as I was concerned, I'm like, well, why would I build something? We get 50% off on all our kayaks. So I was never super into it, even though I thought they looked cool. So when I did see that wooden board that day at Del Mar, there was a little bit of resonance from that time.
Sure.
But it was still very, very new. I was still worried that I was going to cut my hand off if I used a circular saw.
So you had no experience prior to making your first board?
I knew nothing.
Wow.
I could barely change the battery on a drill.
Wow.
Before that.
That's crazy. Okay, cool.
A little bit of an exaggeration.
Yeah, but still, I get the point. You would look at this as being a pretty big task to take on. You're building a watercraft out of wood, that you need to cut and fit and glue or whatever. That's pretty intimidating to a lot of people. But what I'm hearing is, for anybody listening who might be curious about this kind of thing, even you and I could do it.
Yeah, no, it's totally doable. I'm going to be totally honest in that I did have a woodworking mentor in my father-in-law.
Okay.
But he was awesome because he made me do everything. He showed me how to do something. He said, okay, this is your project.
Yeah.
But he's the one that recommended I go and I read some books on it first.
Oh, great.
And they are out there. Off the top of my head, I don't remember the names, but if you look up stitch and glue boat building.
Okay, so that's this concept. It's called stitch and glue.
That's the easier one.
Okay, got it.
That's where I would start.
Okay.
If you don't have experience with it. And you can still, the board that I have on my car right now that I'm going to paddle later today, that's under 30 pounds, is a stitch and glue board, and it's really fast.
Yeah, that's a prone.
It is.
Yeah, there's something unique about it too. It has some imagery on it. Tell me about that.
The Star Wars pictures underneath it. They're beautiful, aren't they?
Yeah, you're a fan, aren't you?
I've loved all that stuff. I think as long as I've been passionate about the environment, perhaps longer.
Wow.
In fact, I don't think I could even tell you. I don't remember the first time I saw most of those films.
That's kind of cool. When I saw that, I thought to myself, it's neat that you can build something yourself and then make it personalized. Right, which is different than buying a board.
Because it's so easy too. All that is just cloth from a fabric store, super thin cloth, and it soaks up the epoxy, and you put the fiberglass over it, and it bonds right to the board.
That's so cool.
And it's not like you're adding much weight.
Right. Tell me about the first board you did. So we were getting to that. You're inspired by it, and then what's the next step?
I started 6 months later. It was done. I stood on it in my pool. Just to be safe, to make sure, I didn't want to drive up there by myself and then sink because I wanted to paddle it the first time by myself.
Okay.
And I went out there. It was at Lake Silverwood, which is up, if you take the 15 all the way to the Cajon Pass and then cut east, you'll get to Silverwood in about 20 minutes.
Okay.
And it's one of my favorite places to paddle, by the way.
Yeah.
So I went out there
for those who are listening out of California, that's SoCal area, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Drove up there, as I said, on my own. Right when they opened, I drove in the gate at about 6:05 in the morning. You
were clearly excited to get this
I was
experience not
I
in
was
the pool.
Stoked, yeah. It was great. It paddled way faster than I thought it was going to. It's got kind of an interesting profile where it tapers out, so it's wider at the top and narrower at the bottom.
So less, what is that? That's like less actual water surface?
Your water line, so your wetted surface area is a little lower than you'd expect, so there's a little bit less board in the water. So it was really more of like a 28-inch water line, even though I had a 30-inch platform.
Oh, understood. Okay.
But my big thing is I kept looking back behind me to see if there were air bubbles because I was worried I was going to sink. And you think
Did you just hug the shore? Or did you like go for
No,
the goal?
I went for it. I can swim pretty well.
Yeah,
I have a leash. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. You can imagine dragging this thing.
I was going to take it
5 feet underwater. Like
if I had to, it was a lot of work.
I would imagine you're dedicated to that. So that's awesome.
So, I think at about mile 3 or 4, I realized that it was at the same height that it had been at mile, 0.1.
Yeah.
And I was good. And so I enjoyed myself for the last mile back.
Nice.
But yeah, it was super cool. And that feeling, it's one of those things it's simple and it's subtle, but getting out there on something that you made.
Yeah.
It has even when I go out every time, there's something about just kind of taking those first few strokes as you push off into the ocean or the lake. I can't say the river because I don't think I take a wooden board that I made on the river, but there's something special about it. And it just feels pretty cool. Just as I said, a tiny subtle thing that feels really great as you move out onto the water with that.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But making all that stuff, I was actually really disillusioned at one point too, because I went on these forums and I said, I want to make the most environmentally friendly board that I can, the most green board that I can. And I'm talking to other people that made boards online, and more than one person said, oh, that's a waste of your time. You're not going to make a difference in the carbon production in the world or something like that. So,
why are those guys on that forum? Like, I
was so bummed, because it was like
they're just going to eco forums to trash other people who are trying to do something better.
Like I guess your eco forum troll. Apparently.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
But it really disillusioned. It was like, oh my God, I thought this would be the place where I could talk about, and there was a few people who were cool. And they're the ones that steered me in the right direction.
Good.
So they taught me about all the materials that can go into it besides just wood.
Okay, tell me about that. So the process of building one
so
you buy it as a kit. Or, give me the whole rundown.
If you're going to buy a wood board, and you're not just going to design the whole thing yourself, which is also possible, but a much bigger undertaking.
What's your entry level piece?
Yeah, I would, buying a stitch and glue kit, clcboats.com, which is Chesapeake Lightcraft's website, I bet you probably 20 to 30 different stitch and glue kits. Most of them are kayaks, and they're beautiful, and they paddle really well. I've paddled some at their demo days.
Cool.
They also have 2 different stand-ups. They have a prone, surf kayak, surfboards, all sorts of different stuff. The surfboards are strip boards. Those are a little harder. They're not stitch and glue. Okay. I have not seen a stitch and glue surfboard. I think the hard rails on it might just make it not surf as well as you'd want it to.
Okay.
But you can go there and you can get a kit. Let's see. I believe that the stand-up paddle kits, I want to say they're around 800 or 900 before shipping.
Okay.
And they're on the East Coast, so shipping, and then obviously that makes it a little less sustainable to ship that package across the country. Sure. But they'll also sell you plans and just a tiny little tube, and you can cut all the pieces out yourself.
Okay. So you get this kit, like I'm thinking, it's wood stand-up board Legos to some extent, and then what do? If
you're gonna glue your Legos together and never take them apart again, it's almost exactly.
That's exactly what it is. Okay.
Yeah. With the stitch and glue, let's say if you get the kit, all you really have to do, you start gluing the pieces together because they're not going to send you a 12'6" or a 14-foot or a whatever long box. They come in about 8 feet, just like plywood usually comes in 8 feet sections. So 8 feet or less sections. You will glue those pieces together, so then you have panels that you can then stitch together with 1/16 inch copper wire.
Okay. So describe to me what that looks like the process when you're putting it together.
That's like one of the coolest parts.
Okay, neat.
Because you get your bulkheads, which, on a side note, if you ever do build a stitch and glue board and you build it from plans and you can order the bulkheads without having to make them, I would recommend that. Okay. Because, man, making those however many bulkheads sitting there with your jigsaw or your whatever you're using.
So good pro tip off the start is to buy them pre-bulkhead.
Yeah, I made the first one I made all 11 bulkheads, and it's super tedious, and then you're sanding it down to make it fit, and then they don't fit as well because they're not CNC'd.
Sure.
So just as you said, pro tip, if you want to be so nice as to call me a pro, then yeah. But yeah, what's cool is you stitch the sides. You have to glue a little panel along the sides so you have more gluing area for the top eventually.
Mm-hmm.
But once you do that and you get the sides together, you stitch them to the bulkheads. You have a couple super tiny holes that there's various ways to fill up later, and it's not hard. And you stitch it together, and now what you're looking at is you're looking at two sides with bulkheads, and you actually have something that you can look at and say, oh my gosh.
It's like the shape of
that's a board.
Oh, wow,
right?
cool.
And I'm going to paddle that one day.
Yeah, cool.
Because that's when it really becomes real. You're like, oh. The nose kind of, you'll stitch the nose together at that point, and it's a neat moment.
Neat.
And then with a stitching glue board, you'd put the bottom on. Kayaks are more complex, by the way.
I would imagine,
that
yeah.
one you're going to maybe take the bulkheads. Obviously, you're taking a lot of those bulkheads out, but they're there for shape at first and things like that. You have the cockpit to worry about.
Right.
But they're still very doable. If you were a kayaker, you wanted to jump into that, you could still get a stitching glue board done without a lot of experience. But a stand-up is easier. Yeah. The prone is actually a little harder than the SUP as well.
Okay. So for this, it was the SUP that you did first, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
After that, you put the bottom on, and the bottom is going to have the panels kind of come together in such a way that you do get a nice displacement hole in the front of the board.
Okay.
And it cuts through the water very well. I can tell you that from many, many, many miles that I've paddled on the board. Nice. And then the back is more of a planing hole.
Okay.
And those all get stitched on as well. Once you do that, you start what's called the filleting process, which is gluing everything so it holds shape, and then you can cut out all those wires.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And I leave the wires in the wood itself to plug up the hole. Some people want to take them all out.
Okay.
That takes a lot more effort, but you can. I think that looks cool with a little shiny copper in there.
So the wire is the stitching process at which kind of holds the whole thing together.
Yeah.
Then you go back in, you glue, and then if you want, you can take the wires out. But that's,
yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, you have to take some of the wires out because they're a little circle outside the board.
Oh, I see. Got it.
You could glue, tack weld it and glue part of it.
I see now.
Take the wires out, then glue the rest. Or you can just glue right over the wires and just cut out what's on the outside.
Got it. Okay. Gotcha.
And I don't know. I've actually had people talk about how it kind of looks cool that they're shiny.
These little
when
brass.
they look really close.
Yeah.
They think they're nails usually, and then I nailed it together instead of using glue.
Oh yeah, it looks like a nail. That's right. Yeah.
But it's cool because it just starts for more conversation. And then you get to chat about it more.
Yeah, love it.
So. But yeah, that's where you go. Now, the one thing with CLC, as far as sustainability is concerned,
tell me.
I think they're still very pro sustainability, but they're selling epoxies that are still all petrochemical based.
Okay, I was going to go into you got glues and things like that. So how do we make that better?
There is the one that I've used is Entropy bioresin.
Okay.
And I don't think it's any harder than the resin that a lot of other people are using. There's mass epoxies, which is kind of like your go-to, I've never done this before, really easy to measure epoxy. I went from mass to Entropy on my third board. And with the exception of maybe Entropy smelling slightly different.
Okay.
And I would argue that it hardens a little bit faster.
Okay.
Again, it could have been the time of the year I was making the board too.
Definitely.
To be fair.
Sure. So Entropy is the brand, and their bio-based epoxy is what? How's it made? What's it made out of? What makes something a bio-based?
I don't know the answer.
Oh, cool. So we can
it's all it's plant-based.
Okay, neat.
I know that, and so it's 30%. The rest of it is the same
stuff.
Same stuff. Yeah, I think they deliberately might not list everything they use on their website for obvious reasons.
Right, but we're heading in a direction of better.
Yeah.
30% better by that mark, which I'm happy about. Yeah,
which is a lot. There's also ProLink, which I haven't used.
Okay.
But I know that there's a company in San Diego, PURAKAI. They put on that race in October. They're using ProLink on all their boards. And I know they swear by it. I think it's similar, and it's 30 to maybe a little bit higher % bio-based materials.
Okay.
Again, it's just like you said, it's not 100%, but we're moving in the right direction.
Right.
I know that Entropy, this is something that I saw actually an interview with the Starboard CEO.
Oh, okay.
Entropy is pushing to go more plant-based even. They're looking for other ways to do that. They're even looking for ways to have a more recyclable epoxy once it's hardened. They're looking at stuff that can be dissolved with apple cider vinegar.
Oh, neat.
So they're not done, which is cool. And I think if you can go out there, and if you're passionate about it and you can go out there and support them, then it's kind of one more voice for, hey, keep trying.
Yeah, keep doing this thing. That's how that machine gets bigger and better anyway. Exactly. That's how the whole thing.
But yeah, so that's your main glue, because that's with the wood board, that's what's gluing everything together.
Got it.
Because your filler is usually going to be super, super fine sawdust.
Okay.
And so that's also what you use to wet out your fiberglass as well.
Okay.
When you get to that stage, which, is a whole nother ballgame.
Got it.
Yeah, and then you're also, when you're building your wood board and you're in sustainability, you're in charge of the materials that you use.
It's so cool.
You can make sure that the wood you have was cut down sustainably. Most of them are stamped with a FSC stamp that will say that it was cut sustainably. And if you're paying attention to maybe where it came from,
right,
and you know that you're not buying from some clear-cut forest, you're not buying from somewhere super far away,
right, where the transportation cost alone kind of takes over.
It defeats the purpose.
You were telling me about some of the woods that are used. Tell me about some of those.
There's a lot of different ones. Your go-to for stitching glue, at least with Chesapeake Lightcraft, is going to be Okumi plywood. Okay, which I had never heard of before either.
All right,
and they're. That one, to my knowledge, is, although sustainably grown, it usually is coming all the way from Africa.
Okay, so it's an African wood?
I'll admit that I could be wrong. There might be other plantations out there, but I know when I was doing it, that's what I was told, and that's what I saw online. But again, it is at least grown sustainably. And it's, just really, really, really strong, but pretty light. Mm-hmm. It was really easy to work with when making that nose, the displacement hole. I've been told that other marine plywoods, other ones that will withstand water pretty well, even though you're epoxying everything.
Sure.
There's one called Meranti. Yeah. And then Luan. I think they're the same thing, actually. Apparently those are incredibly hard to work with. They're still strong, and they're a little heavier, and they're like 1/4 the price.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I thought about going with it one time, and then in talking to people online and talking to guys at the lumber mill that really kind of knew their stuff, they're like, no, don't do that.
Stick with the Okumi.
Yeah, especially because if you build this board right, you're going to have it forever. The first one I built is 6 years old now. And it looks pretty good. I've revarnished it a few times to make for sun protection.
Sure.
With the exception of the time that I put my knee through it. It looks great.
Which could happen with just about any type of board.
That's
really.
no different. You know, I went out in a little bit of a beach break day, and I got knocked off my board, and my knee landed right in the wrong spot. To be fair, the guy that designed it, he and I have become friends, and he looked at me. He's like, "I've built hundreds of these. I've been involved in building hundreds of these at least, and I've built tens on tens myself. I've never seen anyone do this." He's so like, "You are unique." Yeah,
you get the first right.
And he wasn't trying to get me to buy anything because I already bought one. It wasn't like he was trying to sell me on it.
Sure.
But yeah, right through. Carmel Beach, I've broken like 4 boards there.
I think you should probably steer clear of it.
I grew up there. I can't.
Okay, well in that case,
that's like it's like never going home.
It calls you to learn something. Every time it sounds like. That's awesome. So we got. I understand the stitch and glue process. A little bit about the materials that go in it. Then you get the whole thing completed. You have a shape, right? Which you're probably feeling pretty badass about because you're like, I made this thing, and then you got to cover it.
Yeah,
and you gotta seal it, right?
What's crazy about that is you get the shape, and the first, maybe even the second time you've built a board, you're like, oh, sweet, I'm almost done. Yeah, no, you're not even close. No way. And that's kind of depressing when you realize, oh man, I need another coat. So yeah, you put your fiberglass on, and that is one thing that is still, I feel like it's almost like a thorn in the side of the green board building because there's not a lot of fiberglass out there that is eco-friendly yet.
Right. I mean, it's fiber. It's manufactured fiber.
Exactly.
There's got to be something. Is there an alternative? What is it?
Yeah. So I have not been able to use this yet because I'm trying to run through the fiberglass that I have. I've only recently learned about this. But there is fiberglass out of there being made from flax.
Flax as in?
Flax fiber.
The plant.
Yes.
Okay.
I have talked to people who've used it.
Okay.
And they say that it works pretty easily, but it doesn't look as nice when it's finished. Okay. Like it looks... I'm trying to remember the word he used. Blotchy was too extreme of a word. Okay. But
it doesn't have a clean...
It doesn't have that clean look.
Like normal fiberglass kind of absorbs the liquid of the resin and stuff like that and then creates a... Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, I think that might make it, in all honesty, it might make it a little harder to work with because it might be harder to tell when the fiberglass is like completely absorbed all the epoxy.
Soaking, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so...
but if you wanted to paint it, you
could
wouldn't
totally
see that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you could totally paint it. As I was saying, the next board I build, I think I'm going to have enough fiberglass left over for the board I've got right now and one more. Okay, cool. And then I'll try it after that, which is good because the one more is going to be for my daughter, and I don't think I should experiment on hers.
That's exciting.
Yeah, no, she gets a stock prone board pretty soon.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah, she's stoked about it.
How old is she?
She is 8.
So how many? This is going to be such a grand present for her. I hope she helps you build it. Oh,
she will. Nice. Yeah, she helped me with my first one too.
She did.
She she was 3 or 4 during the first build. And I remember it was like one of the best moments, I think. Certainly one of the best building moments I've had. Maybe one of the best paddling moments, which means it was probably one of the best moments ever if it's the best paddling moment.
Right, there you go.
And I was, on the ground with my arms reaching up, stitching the board together, and she was hanging out, just handing me more copper wire as I needed it, asking me if I needed a clamp, which I didn't, but it was okay. I took them anyway sometimes. She was making designs with the clamps to show me, and she had her little Home Depot apron on.
I love it.
And so she's helped. She's helped me fiberglass stuff. She's actually gone out there with a squeegee and wetted stuff out. Yeah. To be totally honest, I was right behind her wetting it out again because it was usually not the best job.
Right. That's okay though.
But the thing with her is if it's too hot, she doesn't want to do it because she's got to be in long sleeves and pants to do all that stuff.
Right.
Her hands get all sweaty in the gloves.
Yeah.
No, but she likes being out there and she knows that she's going to spend time on the boards, so she enjoys it.
It's such a great thing at a young age for her to get to see how this project like works and become a voice of it in the future.
Well, yeah, and that was one of the cool things too. I remember we were down at I think this made me decide that I was going to build boards forever, was with this comment that she made. We were in La Jolla. We had just been playing in the surf. I don't even know if we had my board with us or not. I just remember we were getting burritos. And this one guy was riding out of the Rusty Surf Shop with a brand new board. I was like, somebody just bought a brand new board. And she looks at me and says, well, why didn't he just make his own board?
Nice.
And it was...
That's so nice.
To see that it was so like a part of her already. I love it. Was so awesome.
Love it.
And to know that probably meant that she was going to be out there working with me a lot.
Sure. Yeah.
That was, another really excellent moment.
It's almost like she set the example for you.
In a way,
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's kind of what I've thought of for the rest of the time. When I look at when I get jazzed about a new board design, you see it in the magazine, like, I want that. I'm like, no, I can do better.
Yeah.
I can make one.
Oh, I love it. That's so good. So you've built how many now?
4. So 4. I'm on my 5th one right now.
Sweet. They're not all SUP because your other ones are prone. You have a prone.
I have 3 SUPs.
Yep.
And 1 prone.
Got it.
If I could convince my wife that we needed a 20-foot surf ski in the garage, there might be one of those in the future as well.
Oh, well done.
But I'm not sure. As much as she likes other forms of paddling, I think it would be more likely just to get a few more prones. There's a guy up in Oregon who has a really cool new prone design that should be on sale soon.
Oh, cool.
It's Clearwood Paddleboards.
Okay.
And it's a really neat, he's got a 14-foot and a stock is a little bit further down the line, but he's going to have both. And what's cool about it is the lines are a little bit smoother, a little bit more rounded like a normal prone as opposed to a stitch and glue prone, which paddles really well, but it doesn't have that traditional rounded hole.
Right, it's an edge. Yeah.
Whereas his, because it strips, there's a really nice, cool rounded look to it.
Neat.
So I know that it's not out there yet, so I haven't gotten to paddle it, but he has really excellent designs. I've paddled a lot of his SUPs, including his unlimited wood SUP.
Oh, neat.
17 feet, and he'll make it various custom length or custom widths for you.
Oh, wow.
So you can go down to that, crazy 22-inch if you want.
That's nuts.
But I paddled it was a 27-inch wide, 17-foot long, unlimited. I got to paddle that last summer. I want to say he came in second place in the race that we did, the Stand Up to Alzheimer's race that I put on last year.
Okay.
So on
that board?
On his unlimited.
Wow.
Yeah, he was first place was, I think some guy on an SIC 24-inch carbon board.
Okay.
And Randy was he was not too far behind, and he beat quite a few people on their carbon fiber, Starboard, SIC, Infinity. We had some good paddlers.
That's awesome. Not to mention there's some it raises a couple eyebrows, doesn't it?
Oh yeah.
And creates some curiosity.
Some great conversations with
I like that. Let's talk a little bit more about, there are some, okay, so we're kind of leaning on this. We're both of us are hanging from a tree right now. Very, very, very excited about the opportunity to build a wood. But there are some companies that are still doing like there are some ways that people can engage this idea without having to build their own board. Which, by the way, I just want to recommend that anyone who's curious, go do this. I'm a builder myself. I love to make stuff, so I can only imagine. I've built cars and stuff. How it would feel to get on a board. So I encourage that. However, baby steps. So what can people also do to kind of engage with some companies that are good for this side of kind of the eco paddle warrior, if you will?
No, there are some great stuff. There's great things going on with a lot of that stuff. Without getting too crazy about the brands that are doing stuff out there. If you wanted to learn more about what's going on, the Starboard website does have a wealth of information.
Okay.
But I think it's a matter of, first, I guess you could go to sustainablesurf.org.
Okay.
And they have a list of companies that are what are classified as what they call eco-boards.
Okay.
So Sustainable Surf, Eco-Board Project.
Okay.
And then you go from there.
Oh, that's awesome. How long has that been around?
I've only discovered it a few years ago.
Oh, so fairly new, probably.
I know their whole philosophy is building a more sustainable world through surfing. Not just making surfing more sustainable, but like kind of spreading the philosophy of sustainability.
Right.
But through this sport that connects us with the water.
Sure, totally.
And they've even said, I know they were talking about getting a SUP and like more paddle-oriented section to that list, so that way you weren't clicking on surfboards. Oh, Pat, you know what you're looking for. They haven't yet, but when I talked to one of their guys there, he said that was one of their goals.
That's awesome.
So they have, for their eco board, the level 1 designation is as long as it has something like entropy on it, so a bio-based epoxy, or maybe it's predominantly a wood from a sustainably sourced lumber.
Okay.
Just 1 or 2 things like that, then it gets the level 1 designation.
Got it. Okay.
Their level 2, they're like a little bit more silent about. I think it's more like you have to apply and get it, and there's a few of those. I don't know the level 2s off the top of my head. I would imagine that somebody like Starboard that's using so many things probably is. Okay. But I would have to double check.
Okay, cool.
But that would be one place to start.
I mean, I love that people are just out, the company, this organization's out there vetting this carefully for other people to come in with a real good idea of, hey, look, this is legit. And I mean, if they come recommended by you, then I'm excited about that.
Well, and they're really open about everything.
Good.
And I remember just, like you said, they're really excited about getting the word out there and pushing for a lifestyle that they feel is just more compatible.
I love it.
With being a part of nature. Some of the other companies, like Infinity, was one that I didn't know about that's on their list.
Oh, cool.
And I think it's because they're using entropy.
Okay.
Another smaller one that can lead into kind of another cool thing you can look for is PURAKAI, which is a small San Diego-based company that I mentioned before.
Yep.
They're also using either recycled or recyclable foam.
Oh, cool.
Which is a whole nother. And I remember at first when I learned about them, I'm like, well, who cares if the foam's recyclable? Because
it's still foam.
It's still foam, and then you're not recycling it anyway. It's going to be encased in glass. Mm-hmm. You can't recycle it then. But then I realized all those extra pieces that are getting cut off and thrown away in non-recyclable foam.
Yeah, the waste that comes from making the shape. Yeah,
and I think I had just never thought about that. And so for me, when I made that connection and I thought about the millions upon millions of people that are surfing in just California.
Sure.
And if you have 1 million people, which is a hugely low estimate, but just as a number, and you're throwing away 1 million things of waste, I mean, it's
pretty big.
Unreal. That really is a big impact. So they're using recyclable foam on their smaller boards.
Okay.
25% of their foam is also recycled. When it gets too big, they feel that the performance is affected too much, so they're just going to recyclable foam.
Oh, got it.
So anything over 8 feet is recyclable. Anything under 8 feet is 25% recycled. A lot of it is made, when PURAKAI is doing stuff, is made there with Marco foam, which is in Irvine.
Okay.
And then I think the bigger ones, they're still coming from Mexico, the bigger blanks. But sure. And Marco foam, again, you could, another option, and this one, I think I'd make even more of a mess if I tried this, but you could go get a blank from Marco foam. Oh, wow. And get a recyclable or recycled, depending on your length, blank. And you could glass that. You could go get your flax fiber and your entropy resin, and you could take it back to your garage and go from there. I think Marco foam will even cut a design for you as well. Oh, wow. I mean, it's kind of up to them. You're not going to be customizing it, but if I'm not mistaken, they will cut out a longboard shape, a SUP shape, or something like that as well. Some
serious options. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know how you get that. I would be nervous about driving that on the top of my car.
Just a blank.
Just a blank with how hard I sometimes pull those straps down.
Yeah, right. You just go right through the edge of it.
So maybe you would need to find a good way to transport it.
Yeah, sandwich it with some wood.
But yeah, they're and super friendly guys. They let me come in, and when I was doing research for stuff, let me come in and take pictures and talk to them. They gave me some foam that they were going to recycle, so I could show off. Oh, hey, look at all the waste that's happening.
Right.
And even after the fact, sent me some stuff when people had questions for me after a presentation I gave. Mm-hmm. I was sent to them, and it's like, oh yeah, I'll take some pictures. And he took pictures of stuff in the factory, and he sent it to me so I could put it up and share with people.
That's fantastic.
So they're because it makes sense, right? Because they're passionate about the sustainability.
Yeah, they want to. I mean, what I'm learning with this is you gravitate towards an idea, and then you just for people who are excited about it, you just grab a hold and say, hey, look, there's more. And I love it. So tell me more about some of the companies and some of the other things that you kind of found in this rabbit hole.
I think, to stay on the whole idea of a more sustainable board that's not made out of wood, those are the things that you can ask for when you're looking for a board. Maybe you don't see it on, the Eco Board project.
Okay.
But at the same time, you can ask people, and if they don't know, they don't know. But at least the words are out there. You're educating more people. What was the glass with? Was it entropy resin? Was it ProLink? Or was it a bio-based epoxy? I think people are becoming more familiar with the terms, especially, more companies are pushing for that stuff. I mean, you have Patagonia's big push for their wetsuits to become more sustainable. So I think people are becoming more aware.
What's that? Tell me that.
Patagonia not shifted. I think they still have their other wetsuits too, but now every single wetsuit they made now comes in a new material that they call Ulex, Y-U-L-E-X. And that is it's a plant-based neoprene, essentially.
Bad. I've never heard of it.
Yeah, so okay, cool. It's coming from a completely sustainable forest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so this is the wrong word, but the rubber trees.
Sure.
The rubber trees in air quotes are
rubber trees
from a sustainable forest.
Wow.
And they're not cutting stuff down, going crazy. And then the process itself releases, I want to say like 80% less carbon when they make the material.
Oh,
and they are more expensive. Like you're not going to get around.
It's always going to be that way until, I mean, like the first 5 iPhones ever produced, it's always going to be that way until the world starts to kind of shift with it.
Exactly.
And then the demand goes up, and I mean, this is economy 101. So,
but what I liked about it was
great.
It wasn't just like, oh, this is our most popular wetsuit, so we're going to put it in here.
Right.
It was, we're going to do this in every single design. If you want just a vest to paddle your prone board in, that's fine. If you want a spring suit or just pants or whatever, they've got it.
That's
they have
great.
a huge line.
That's great, yeah.
And then, on top of that, here you're talking about a company that every single thing that they sold on was it Earth Day? It wasn't Earth Day. On Black Friday. Every single thing they sold on Black Friday was donated to an environmental cause.
Yeah.
All their profits. I mean, how cool is that? I would love to buy from someone like that.
Yeah, I think that companies like, so for those of you who don't know, Yvon Chouinard was the gentleman who started Patagonia. And the things that they bring in terms of how to lead the way to show the businesses how to do this stuff better has just been super inspiring to me.
Me too. I dig what they're doing. And I think they're not the only ones. You do see more and more of that as things are happening. So I feel like some of those, are becoming both more environmentally and even socially responsible too.
Right. And you don't have to be a big mega business to do it. You can be a small business just making simple stuff or small stuff like sunscreen and things like that.
One more thing about boards though too is custom boards, I think, are not completely sustainable option, but they're overlooked in how much they can help. Because if you get a custom board, you're probably going to keep it for a really long time. Right. Because it's made for you.
Right.
You're not going to evolve past that design as quickly if you really sit down and get a board that works for you.
Sure.
And on top of that, this is not always the case. Some people won't change what they're using to build it, but some will. There are ones out there from, at least as I'm putting feelers out, where you can say, hey, would you use a plant-based epoxy? Would you use entropy?
Like if you're going to do my custom board, here's a couple guidelines that I would like to go into it. That's fantastic.
So that's out there too.
Good.
I love the idea of making my own stuff, but I totally get why somebody wouldn't.
Yeah.
So you've got your production line ones. There's companies that are doing that, but then you have your custom ones, and you can push for a more environmentally friendly one that way. Who knows? Maybe if you start a conversation with someone, it might get that spark going for them too.
Right.
It doesn't hurt to say it.
I love it.
They say no.
Yeah. They say no. Yeah, and then you go from there.
Those are most of the things that I found when either you're looking to buy a board, you're making your own board, kind of the simple one, not the simple ones, but like, I guess your big three, the foam or the wood, the epoxy, the fiberglass, whichever route you go, building your own or looking for stuff. Those are kind of the three things you can look at.
Got it.
But I also, and this is when I'm talking to people on the beach or wherever, try to push that you don't need to be buying a new board or building a new board to kind of spread that care for the environment when you're out there.
Sure.
There's a lot of other things you can do also.
Yeah, just in the time spent paddling. Give me an example of that.
A simple one, and I think a lot of us do it anyway, but we overlook the importance of it, is just picking up trash.
Sure.
I when I go paddle with my kids, my daughter is 8, my son is 3.5. I only say 3.5 because he'd correct me if he was here and I said he was just 3. And most of the time when we paddle together, it's just a trash pickup session.
Got it. That's so great.
My son's new favorite thing to do is just to sit in the water itself, hanging off my arm while I paddle with my other arm, because he doesn't want me to stand up and use the paddle. He wants to do the prone board every time.
Oh, wow.
And he'll just pick up trash as we paddle by it.
Nice.
And then put it on the board. And then if one arm gets tired, I just transfer him over to the other
Swap
side.
him over the other arm.
So,
that's so good.
and then, but for those who don't know, you have this cool app, the Literati app.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Where, you probably know more about it than I do. I use it. I take a picture, I tag the picture, and it gets sent to a database so they can keep track of where the trash is coming from, right?
Okay, yeah. So Literati is a company started by a gentleman named Jeff Kirschner, and there's a TED Talk out there with him, and he explains it very succinctly in under 10 minutes, and I guarantee you will probably not be the same after you see it. So tell me about your experience with Literati.
Yeah, I think I learned about it from the Cali Paddler website or a Cali Paddler Facebook post, and I got really jazzed about it, right off the bat. Oh, cool. I think for me, it motivates me to maybe go a little bit extra out of the way to pick up that piece of trash that I ashamedly might not have gone to go pick up at other times. It makes me kind of remember that, like, my average pace for my paddle that day is not more important than picking up that plastic bag that's over there. It's just like an extra reminder that, no, I paddle here every week, every day, whatever time of year it is.
Right. Great point.
And so it's like, I can stop and I can pick it up and I can keep going, just throw it maybe in the grab handle or just step on it for a little while if I'm on my SUP or whatever, and go from there. With my kids, when they're out there with me, then they're more jazzed because it's a little bit more of a game too. Right. It's just one more thing to do. Oh, let's take a picture of it.
Right.
Oh, let's make sure that we upload it or send it away.
Right. It's one of those moments where our social media dynamic can create, like, you have a deeper sense of responsibility to what you're seeing, right? So you're seeing that piece of trash, you have a deeper sense of responsibility to it, and then you get a little hit of dopamine by, like, kind of sharing. Hey, look at this cool thing I'm doing with the world, which is totally okay if you have a little bit of ego attached to it. I think it's a good thing to have a little bit of ego attached to, and to be able to show other people that this is something that has more impact than we can imagine. It's so good. And to get kids to do it, I love that your kids do it. Like, that's so cool.
Well, I think, like you said, it makes me...
Does it keep track? Sorry, do you know how many pieces, like, you've picked up through the app?
It will keep track of how many times you have uploaded your pictures of trash. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
how cool.
I don't know off the top of my head how many.
But still, how neat that you can, like, know that.
Yeah, it's really cool. So, I don't know. I'm wondering if you could keep track of, like, oh, did I get more than last time? I guess you could. I would have to look at it specifically again because I've never looked at it in that way.
Right.
What I like too is it just, like, it makes me feel like I'm doing a tiny little bit more than just picking up the trash too. Like, not only am I making my favorite place to paddle cleaner,
right,
but I'm showing everyone else what we're doing too, and hopefully inspiring others in a tiny way.
Oh, totally. It does exactly. We're gonna do this right now. I'm gonna ask everybody who's listening right now, pause this episode, go ahead, and go get this app. It's called, spell it for him.
Literati. It's Litterati.
Okay, so it's an app called Literati. Go get it right now. We'll give you a second. Ding, 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 ding. Okay, and you're back. Now that you have that app, so continue. Like, you head out almost every time and you use this.
Yeah, I would think it's pretty rare when I don't use it. The nice thing is there are times when I don't see trash on the lake where I paddle most of the time. Well, and that's probably more the reason I don't use it than otherwise. I'm going to be totally honest in the spirit of just being truthful. There's a guy that I paddle with who paddles a surf ski. I'm usually on my SUP when I go with him because I can't keep up with him on my prone. Mm-hmm. I can't really keep up with him on my SUP either. So sometimes I have past trash because I don't want to lose that little draft wave that I have on him.
Right.
So I try to make up for it the next time at least.
But you're carbon positive on the next route.
That's what I'm going for.
Yeah. I think you're always taking 3 steps forward if only you have one back every now and then.
Yeah, and even on days like that, you can always pick stuff up at the beach if you see it too when you're done, or if you are taking a break, or anything like that.
Sure.
I'm sure if I told him that I was not picking up trash because I was trying to keep up with him, he'd probably give me a hard time. Well, first he'd make fun of me for drafting off of him because he normally does. And then he would stop and we'd pick up trash and it'd be fine.
Yeah.
So he'll probably find out that I said that actually as he listens.
What are some great? I don't want to call them out. What are some other great things besides that you've?
There's a lot still. I mean, even if it's just the clothes you wear. We talked about Patagonia.
Yeah.
But maybe you're getting board shorts that are made from recycled water bottles. Like I know Cali Paddler has tons of cool stuff that you can wear that's made from recycled materials. I think every pair of board shorts I own now is made from recycled stuff. I had no idea that that's what my wife was buying for me, but then I looked and I was like, these feel different than normal. I was like, yeah, they're recycled. I thought you'd like them. I'm like, oh, cool, thanks.
Oh, that's awesome. She's awesome.
She is. And so small, I don't even think that's small because again, yes, it's a little thing, but if you're talking about it, and not in a preachy or a pedantic way, but in a like, hey, look how cool this is.
Right.
And you show people where to get them.
Right. And some of the, I have a couple pairs as well too, and they're actually really nice. Like I really like the feel of a recycled. Yeah, I do. I like them a lot. I like them better than I only have one pair left that's not falling apart. That's made from the old school way. I don't know what you call it. Yeah. But I like it's like that kind of like stretchy. Mm-hmm. I don't know. There's something neat about them. Yeah, they're nice.
Especially my bright orange and turquoise ones. Those are
perfect.
Extra special.
Yes.
Yeah. You can see them all across the lake.
Right. Nothing says recycle like bright orange and turquoise.
So. Well, I wanted to make sure I was seen in those shady areas.
Right. Well done.
Other stuff, though, sunblock. Especially stuff that's going to get in the water. Mm-hmm. Something that is more natural. The ones I've used, SurfScreen Organics and Natty Block are two that I've used. I didn't get sunburned. Right. So they're working okay.
Right. They're doing their sunblock job, but they're all. What makes them more? Do you know what makes them better for the world, for the water?
I think it's just like so many of those environmental things. More natural materials, more bio-based materials that are still protecting you. I mean, I know people who just swear by slathering coconut oil on their bodies and blocking sunblock. Yeah. So somewhere between that coconut oil and all these chemicals that are manufactured in a lab. Right. Yeah, I like both of those. If somebody handed me either one, I'd be happy with that.
Sweet.
And I have to be pretty careful. My daughter has really bad eczema, and so we can't just put any sunblock on her.
Got it.
And so looking through all of them, she hasn't reacted poorly to either of those before.
Perfect. Wow.
And like SurfScreen was one of those like, oh no, we're in a paddleboard race and I have no sunblock and your mom's going to be really mad at me if we drove all the way down here and I had you race for 2 hours with me and then you come back burned. We need to get something. And so we just got something at one of the booths at, I think it was the Sunday by 3 race.
Oh, okay.
And
this was...
It was a SurfScreen Organic.
Oh, cool. Right on.
And I was kind of sold from there. Like coincidence, but her skin was fine.
Fabulous.
Neither of us got burned.
Fabulous. It's nice to know that there's alternatives out there.
Yeah. And again, I think, I know I said this a couple of times, but just to harp on it a tiny bit, because that's going to get in the water. There's other living things that are going to swim right through your sweat/sunscreen runoff that you have.
Right. Sweat/sunscreen runoff.
Yeah. Well, it just came to me.
I know. And honestly, I also know from a health perspective, when your skin is the largest organ on your body, like you absorb so many things through it. When you put really bad chemical-based sunscreens or lotions or makeup or whatever on, what a lot of people don't know is that goes into your body, into your system, and actually they're endocrine disruptors. So they'll just mess up your endocrine system. So people who wear lots of unnatural sunblock a lot, who have headaches and trouble sleeping and things like that, I'd say watch out for your sunblock. Like get more real, right? Get more real stuff in there so that you're not putting toxic stuff on your body. I mean, we wouldn't drink toxic stuff, right? So, exactly. Yeah, big difference. So I love that there are some companies out there that are using natural. So I love that you mentioned them.
And so many of the paddlers, like you said, I mean, we should be putting sunblock on a lot if we're paddling a lot.
Right.
So I hear you. Another one, OnIt Pro. The company that has stuff that can make your board go faster or take care of your board more. You're putting stuff on your board to speed it up a little bit.
Right.
All their stuff is bio-based stuff that's okay if it gets into the water.
Right.
And makes you move a little faster. So that's cool too.
I know, they're good stuff.
Yeah, as I was saying to people before, like it took me a long time to use them because I just didn't think that I was a good enough paddler to deserve to use their stuff.
Oh, wow.
Which whatever. I mean, I think part of it was for so long I had this wood board, this first one, and I really hadn't glassed the bottom very well. I was like, well, what difference is that going to make?
Oh, got it.
I'm already getting this drag from where the fiberglass meets and it's kind of jagged.
Right.
But then I tried it. I was like, oh, okay.
Nice.
When I it's always hard because like I can't claim that I felt the difference, but in comparing times, but I also made a bit a better paddler. But
sure.
At the same time, the the stuff that they have that can clean off your board.
Sure.
Extends the life of your board, so you're not going to buy any board as soon.
Right. I think you invest more through these products to kind of hang on to it and not have to like throw it back into a landfill or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and
point.
I mean, that's the one hard thing, because I know like we're out here and we have all these cool toys, and it's kind of fun to get a new board too.
Sure.
And, like I get that aspect to it.
Right.
But at the same time, I think when we step back and realize like how important it is to hang on to it, at least from an environmental perspective, at least that way we can make better decisions when we do get a new one, or we can hang on to one longer, in the hopes of like being a little bit more sustainable as well.
Right. Love it.
Other ones, I'm sure there's more out there that I'm missing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I always try to talk to people if I see something happen. It's really hard to do that and be respectful sometimes.
Right.
Yes, I've gotten into arguments.
Oh, wow.
It's been a long time since that's happened. That was probably back when I was, a college kid who thought he was being respectful.
Right.
And perhaps wasn't being,
Right.
And that's not for everyone. Some people aren't going to want to do that, and I totally get that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're up for it, maybe you'll inspire some change. Maybe you'll have a great conversation. Maybe they have no idea that they just had something fall out of their pocket.
Right.
They might be horrified
right.
that it happened, and then really thankful that you talked to them. And carpooling too. I think as paddlers and people, I'll be honest. If I see that it's windy and I can find a way to do a downwinder all by myself, I'm going to want to do that.
Right.
But if you can find a way to carpool a little bit, it's just that much less.
Right.
But I get it. We get jazzed about being out there.
Right.
It's easy to kind of forget that.
Yeah, and it's not a bad idea to have a little bit of company.
Paddling with somebody else for the most part
is pretty cool.
I like it better.
Yeah.
I like being by myself sometimes, but I like chatting with somebody, and it helps keeps you honest. If you're working out, you can push yourself harder, or you can relax a little bit too, and it's okay.
And enjoy both parts of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one company I didn't mention. I know you talked about maybe putting some links up for them.
Yeah, totally. For anyone listening right now, we've dropped a lot of names, a lot of companies, a lot of like websites. We're going to make sure all that stuff is in the show notes for you guys at the Paddler's Pulse. So go ahead.
Yeah, just one other one, because we talked about Chesapeake Lightcraft. I don't know if I mentioned Clearwood Paddleboards.
Okay. That's
if you are making a board and maybe you want to step it up and do what's called a strip build.
Okay.
Where you're doing strips of wood along a frame.
Mm-hmm.
This guy just makes beautiful stuff. I mean, yes, I'm biased because he's a friend.
Okay.
But at the same time,
it's okay.
His stuff speaks for itself if you go to the website. And I've paddled all his designs, or at least most of them. They paddle really, really well. And he's
where are they located?
He's all the way up in Oregon.
Okay.
But he can ship the stuff to you.
Okay,
and
cool.
You're getting the package is pretty small because he's only going to ship the frames and the stringer, and you're going to have to mill the rest of the wood yourself.
Got it.
So as far from a sustainability perspective, it's not a very big package getting moved, which I think makes a little bit of difference, and financially makes a very big difference in what you're spending on shipping.
Totally.
And he just finished a prototype for a Prone as well.
Oh, cool.
So that one's coming out soon. I just don't think he's had enough people paddle the prototype yet to feel comfortable putting it into production.
Excellent.
He also has some really nice surfboards, and he has surf SUPs as well as race SUPs too.
Cool, sweet.
All sorts. I think it comes out to over 14 different designs.
Oh wow, he's really into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think because we've talked a lot about like SUP and prone paddling this last little bit, there is Clearstream kayaks, which they have kayaks obviously,
right.
But they also have 2 surf ski designs. If somebody wanted to get, and they look difficult, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, these are strip wood,
strip built surf skis that will be totally hollow. You actually take the frames out
afterwards
before you glue the top on.
Oh, interesting.
So you have a completely monocoque hollow board.
Wow.
Or board, excuse me, boat.
Boat, yeah.
I don't have a weight off the top of my head for those. I've never built one.
Right.
I think it would be
sounds
really
like they're
cool.
pretty new as a whole. Yeah.
Yeah. The lines on them
cool.
are difficult, so you're going to use a little bit more wood, a little bit more pieces than you would for a SUP. So you're going to use a little more glue, which does bring the weight up a tiny bit. But then since it's hollow on the inside,
right.
that would make a big difference as well. And I've heard they paddle really well. I have not gotten to try one of those though, so I can't speak to them quite as much. But they're also the ones that taught me about flax fiberglass just in a conversation online too.
Oh, sweet.
So they use entropy resin as well. So they're pretty into the whole sustainably built board thing. They will build it for you if you want to shell out enough stuff. they'll actually build one for you
to get a full stripwood surf ski,
custom or kayaks. They have beautiful racing kayaks as well that can keep up with those surf skis too.
That's so cool.
So they've got some cool stuff. It's a fun site just to kind of drool over the designs a little bit as well. All of these are
neat.
So,
I gotta say, it sounds like you. I'm gonna say thank you. I want to just take a second to honor you and thank you for doing so much of your own homework to be able to bring a really compressed. I mean, you've taken 5 years and we've compressed it down to 45 minutes, so that people can get an idea of what this. I want to call it an evolution because I'd like to see us go this route. More people to kind of do this type of sustainable boarding, but just to understand it. So thank you for doing so much homework. I mean, you've literally reached out to all these companies just to grab phone calls or emails to get deeper questions answered that you wouldn't normally find on a website or whatever. And I think that speaks a lot to your kind of eco warrior dedication.
Oh no, thank you. I mean, but that's the thing. I never liked doing homework, and I liked doing this. So it's there's that passion there that I know a lot of people have too. Mm-hmm. And it becomes something that I use, hopefully in all sorts of parts of my life as a guideline. And so it was really what I have made as many phone calls if I wasn't, doing the presentation that I did with you guys or doing this.
Right.
Maybe not, but at the same time, I'm so excited to know all this stuff, and it makes me so much more knowledgeable about what I'm going to buy or how I'm going to talk about things. And it really just kind of added to that passion to build as many other boards as I can. One thing I totally left out while I was thinking about it is used boards are really an important aspect to all of this too.
Sure.
Buying a used board as opposed to a new board. If you find one that works for you, at least you're not putting a new board in production.
Exactly. Yeah. So, or supporting the,
But yeah, that's most of what I've got.
That's awesome.
Right now.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. So I want people to be able to have a chance to maybe reach out to you as a resource. Okay.
Yeah.
So where can people where can people hook up with you? And you have a race that you put on that.
I do.
Okay. I want to hear all about that too.
Well, we can lead into that because my email is actually the one I use for planning this race. And it is sup2alts@gmail.com.
Okay. One more time.
sup2alts, and that's SUP, the number 2, ALZH @gmail.com.
Okay.
And that is, it's for Alzheimer's.
Got it.
Hence the ALZH. Mm-hmm. And that's what the race is for. This is the third one I've done. We've done all different locations for all sorts of reasons that could probably be a whole nother podcast. So I'll leave those out right now.
Sure. Tell me the name of the race is.
Stand Up to Alzheimer's.
Stand Up to Alzheimer's.
And we are holding it at Lake Elsinore this year.
Cool.
To our knowledge, there's not been a paddle race there yet.
Oh, that's exciting.
And the brand new Elsinore Aquatic Center, which is run by some awesome people, just reached out to me, and we kind of started chatting about maybe doing another race. My summer schedule was such that I wasn't sure if I could pull another one off. Mm-hmm. We realized we could totally make it work.
Great.
And so 100% of our profits this year go to Alzheimer's research. And
now, why is that? Why is that a cause for you?
My dad was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Gosh, let's see, it would have been 5 or 6 years ago now, and he passed away 2 years ago with a host of other health complications as well. But Alzheimer's was very much the driving factor in making a lot of those worse. Mm-hmm. It's so hard, and it was so rough on everyone. I handled it poorly. I wish I could say differently, but I made plenty of mistakes in doing it. Fortunately, we were able to still reconcile and be with each other at the end. This was just kind of one of the ways that at first I used to deal with it, not even as in memory of him. The first one we had was when he was alive still.
Okay.
And then after that, I realized that I wanted to keep doing them because it helped bring back all these positive memories I had of my dad. Nice. He's the one that taught me how to surf. He's the one that taught me how to kayak.
Oh, wow.
Most of my athletic endeavors started with him. And I knew that had he been healthy enough to get out there and get on a paddleboard when it started to explode, it would have been something he really would have loved.
That's neat.
And so that was what I was doing at the time, and I was into it, and I thought, well, why not? Why can't we just put on a race and we'll donate this, and I can show him and tell him about it. And he was still aware enough that he was able to be pretty stoked about the first one when it happened. So that was really cool. And we donated to the UCSD Shiley Marcos Alzheimer's Disease Research Center then.
Excellent.
We had the event in San Diego.
Okay.
And he grew up in San Diego. I went to college at UCSD. So
Okay.
it seemed like a cool first
perfect.
place to have it.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And he was excited about that, and he kind of got into the research they were doing for a little bit, which was cool because at that point, learning new stuff is more difficult. So seeing him get excited about
Absolutely.
it was neat. And then I said we kind of jumped around. We had one where I grew up. After that, a guy who I believe is no longer at SIC reached out to me, and we put on one together. And yeah, so here we are with one in Elsinore on July 9th.
Okay, excellent.
And already with a handful of signups too, which is for a SUP race 3 months out.
That's pretty
good.
impressive, yeah. So how do people find out more about it? Like, where can they go sign up?
Paddleguru.com.
Okay.
And then you can just search for us on the race tab, or it's like paddleguru/races/stand up to Alzheimer's SoCal, if you can remember all that.
I was going to say that's
or you can just email me and I'll send you the link and the Facebook page and our website.
Perfect. Yeah,
that's fine too.
Yeah, let's do that. That sounds great.
But yeah, it should be, one thing that we were looking at is I know like Elsinore has not the best reputation with paddling.
Sure.
And I mean, I get it. It was closed for a long time because of the algae bloom and stuff.
Right.
But I paddled there.
Like all major lakes have some version of that at some point.
It's happened at many lakes. Yeah.
So, but they have a new aquatic center.
They have a new aquatic center. The woman that runs it, Kelly Byrne,
Okay.
is awesome. We paddled together a few times, and she's gotten people out there, got people signed up for lessons. She's taken people out.
Oh, cool.
I mean, at the moment, they don't have like a brick and mortar. They just have a fleet of kayaks and SUPs.
Cool.
To teach people on. People can rent. They do have a dock still.
Cool.
And they've got a guy that can run some nature paddles as well. And for people who don't
That's
really
kinda
want to
neat.
race, we are doing a nature paddle at our race as well.
Oh,
so
fun.
if you're out there maybe in the area, or you're like, well, I don't want to race, but I'd love to support this. Well, I mean, come out. I'm going to hustle you for some raffle tickets, but otherwise I'll leave you alone.
Yeah.
And you can go out and, he's going to lead people on a nature paddle after both the races get off and going.
Oh, that's super cool. I love that. That's a great concept that not many races have. If any, I don't know if I've ever heard that. That's fantastic.
Haven't. I mean, I've tried to do some
pretty
different
engaging.
things with some of the races. We had a stand-up paddleboard / kayak fishing derby at the first race we did.
Fun. Right on.
We paired up with what was then Oceanside Dive and Kayak, and he brought some stuff down. And it was only like 5 people, but people they were fishing off their stand-up paddleboards.
Yeah, my brother does a lot of that. We've gone out together. In fact, I remember one time in Mission Bay, we went out fairly recently and got completely like fogged in, which if you're just hanging out on your SUP and you're like, you're 20 feet from shore and you're fogged in and it's like, and you're fishing, it's pretty cool actually.
I can see that. Yeah, I've lost sight of shore because of fog before, and I've both been like super entranced and terrified depending on the scenario that I was in.
Yeah, it was cool. It was a good experience. So yeah, SUP fishing's fun. I think I'm gonna find an expert. We're gonna have somebody on here talk about some of that stuff because I know that it's also big for diving and spearfishing and stuff too. Yeah. So maybe we'll do that.
There's a new one of the websites I mentioned earlier. They're coming out with a SUP fishing board.
Oh, cool.
Wood design.
Oh, neat.
In fact, yeah.
Oh, neat. So my brother's listening right now, and I'm certain he's gonna go check that out.
Yeah, I don't think it's on their website yet, but it's clcboats.com. Chesapeake Lightcraft. I talked to the guy who designed them. Hopefully, yeah, he said it was fine to talk about. Never mind.
Okay. Good.
And they're coming out with that one pretty soon.
Sweet.
So I think he's going to show it off this summer. I'm trying to get him to come down to the race in July, but at the moment I think we're still not quite at 100%.
Okay.
But
so the race sounds like a really good cause. Some support from SoCal is certainly going to be there. And people now know where to find you, so you better be ready because it's probably going to be a barrage of
I would
curious.
love that.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Facebook.com/stand up to Alzheimer's is also, you can get a hold of me there, and I'll answer sustainability stuff as well as Alzheimer's race questions.
Fantastic.
There. I would be stoked just to get to chat about it.
Perfect. I love it, and thank you for being so open.
These are fun things to talk about and passionate things to talk about.
Passionate
right?
things to talk.
So
yeah, that's good. Well, I think we did. How do you feel?
I feel good, man.
So thank you again for coming out, Mr. Bret Warner, and take us out of here.
All right, I'll see you on the water.
Thanks for dropping by to listen in. You, yes, you, are the